There's a reason women find you both magnetic and impossible to decode, and it's not something they can easily articulate. You're not loud or overbearing like the alpha, constantly fighting to dominate every room. And you're far from the beta's passivity, seeking comfort or external approval. You exist outside that spectrum, calm, self-governed, emotionally independent, and anchored by purpose. Your presence doesn't demand attention, it naturally pulls it in. It's the way you navigate life with composed detachment, fully grounded in your identity, with zero urge to prove yourself. While other men chase applause, validation, and social dominance, you move in silence along your own path. That quiet refusal to conform speaks louder than any performance. And whether they admit it or not, women are biologically tuned to recognize and respond to that kind of strength. Evolutionary psychology consistently shows that women are subconsciously drawn to men who embody autonomy, confidence, and emotional self-command. What some interpret as coldness is actually an ancient signal of inner power. Your unpredictability only deepens the intrigue. You're not always available, not always quick to reply, and never needy. That space you create, intentionally or not, triggers a psychological phenomenon known as intermittent reinforcement, where unpredictable responses intensify desire and fixation. Without effort, you become the riddle no one can solve. But here's what truly sets you apart from manipulators: none of this is a performance. You're not playing games or following tactics. You're simply living by your principles, your silence, your distance, your discipline. They're not techniques. They're your nature. That authenticity is rare in a world addicted to pretending. And that is where your magnetism lives. You are the quiet storm that arrives without warning but changes everything in its wake. The stillness that unsettles, the mystery that tempts, the freedom that feels both exhilarating and dangerous. That's why they can't look away. Now, let's break this down and uncover what truly makes the Sigma male such a compelling and mysterious force. Number 1. Radical independence. Radical independence is both the ultimate attraction and the ultimate intimidation. Here's the paradox: Sigma males don't need women to feel whole, yet that very self-sufficiency is what makes them so compelling. In a world where men are conditioned to pursue, impress, and perform for a woman's approval, the Sigma overturns the entire narrative. He doesn't seek validation through relationships because his identity was never built around them. He is fulfilled within himself, focused, grounded, and emotionally self-contained. That kind of self-sufficiency sends a powerful signal without him having to say a single word. Evolutionary psychologists refer to this as preselection. People are drawn to those who appear in demand, selective, or hard to attain. The Sigma doesn't cling, doesn't chase, doesn't crave approval, and in that refusal, he radiates uncommon value. He doesn't force love, he brings presence. He doesn't beg for attention, yet often becomes the center of it. This creates a subtle tension in the female mind. He's not trying to win me, so why do I want him even more? Women naturally want to feel desired, but the Sigma's independence disrupts that expectation. It introduces a quiet imbalance. He is emotionally complete, and she begins to wonder, am I enough for him? That internal doubt can shift quickly, from admiration to longing, from attraction to fixation. And that's where the fear begins. Not fear of the Sigma, but fear of losing him. Fear of not being able to hold a man who cannot be controlled. Fear of being replaceable. Fear of never matching his level of calm mastery. And none of that fear is triggered by his behavior. It comes from his essence. He doesn't manipulate emotions. He simply moves through life with unwavering composure. And that is exactly why women chase him the hardest, especially when he isn't chasing anyone at all. Number 2, the mystery factor. Women are naturally pulled toward what they can't fully understand or control. It's a deep psychological truth. Humans crave the unknown. We search for patterns, but we're most fascinated when the pattern is incomplete. And this is exactly where the Sigma male stands out. Unlike alpha males who loudly assert dominance, Sigma males move on an entirely different frequency. They don't demand attention, they attract it without effort, like a shadow slipping quietly through a crowded room. Their confidence is understated, unforced, and free from any need for validation. And it's this unpredictability, this quiet depth, that makes them so magnetic. Imagine a Sigma male sitting alone at a cafe, immersed in a book, completely indifferent to the noise and chaos around him. He's not searching for anyone's eyes, yet people notice him anyway. Women especially begin to look, not because he's loud or flashy, but because his self-contained energy stands out in a world desperate for attention. That calm, unbothered solitude creates a gravitational pull. He becomes a living question mark, something just out of reach, yet impossible to ignore. Psychologically, this taps into the Zeigarnik effect, our mind's tendency to stay fixated on things that feel incomplete. The sigma, by revealing little and holding his cards close, keeps others leaning toward him. Every word he does speak feels intentional, almost encrypted. It's not manipulation. It's mystery. And mystery is magnetic. What makes this even more powerful is that the sigma isn't trying to be enigmatic. It's simply his nature, quiet, introspective, and self-grounded. But in a world where everyone is shouting for visibility, his stillness becomes its own kind of spotlight. Women may never fully understand why they're drawn to him. But they are. And that is the sigma effect. Number 3, no validation needed, immune to opinions. The sigma male isn't fueled by likes, praise, or external approval, and that alone makes him almost untouchable. While most people constantly seek validation through attention, applause, and feedback, the sigma operates from a completely different source, inner certainty. His self-worth isn't anchored in compliments, relationships, or social recognition. It's rooted in his values, his direction, and his unwavering self-respect. He doesn't need anyone to complete him because he walks through life already whole. And in relationships, this shifts the entire dynamic. If a woman wants a place beside him, she must bring depth, not just beauty, alignment, not attachment. This internal validation is what makes him both magnetic and intimidating. Many women are accustomed to being the emotional center of a man's world, offering comfort, praise, or attention to influence his behavior. But those common tactics fall flat with a sigma. He doesn't need to be told who he is. He already knows. He doesn't seek approval. He gives it to himself. Yes, he appreciates genuine connection. Yes, he values sincerity. But he never becomes dependent on it. And that quiet emotional independence unsettles people because it disrupts the typical social script. Psychologically, this reflects a secure attachment style, introverted steadiness, and high emotional intelligence. The sigma doesn't chase validation, and ironically, that very detachment only heightens his allure. People become captivated by someone who doesn't need to be captured. They try harder to win the attention of the man who isn't asking for it. And when someone attempts to control him through admiration or flattery, they quickly realize he's not playing that game. He's not addicted to ego strokes or attention loops. He is whole, with or without anyone's compliments. In a world obsessed with being seen, the sigma male stands as the quiet exception, grounded, self-defined, and utterly immune to the noise. Number 4, emotional control, the sigma's hidden weapon. While most men react, the sigma male responds. That single difference defines the emotional strength that sets him apart. He isn't cold or disconnected, he's simply mastered himself. In moments of pressure or conflict, where others might lash out, shut down, or search for reassurance, the sigma stays centered. Not because he's unfeeling, but because he's learned to command his emotions instead of being commanded by them. This emotional discipline isn't just impressive, it's magnetic. Psychologically, it signals high emotional intelligence, a trait linked to strong leadership, good judgment, and grounded confidence. When chaos strikes, the sigma doesn't spiral. He watches, analyzes, and moves with intention. That calm presence becomes one of his greatest strengths. Picture a woman trying to provoke him, testing his limits with subtle digs or emotional games. She expects him to crack, to react impulsively, to reveal a weakness. But he doesn't. He remains steady, unreadable, and collected. And instead of discouraging her, it pulls her in deeper. Why? Because self-control is rare, and rarity fascinates. Women are evolutionarily wired to respond to emotional stability, not just brute strength. A man who remains composed under pressure sends subconscious signals of competence, protection, and authority, core traits of a high-value partner. But that same control can make him feel unreachable. She isn't steering his emotions. He is. And that completely shifts the power dynamic. She may be used to men who bend for approval or react wildly to emotional triggers, but the sigma does neither. He doesn't chase. He doesn't break. He doesn't require emotional permission to exist. He simply stands there, focused, aware, and quietly in command. And that is what makes him so irresistibly dangerous. Number 5, the duality of desire and fear, he exposes their insecurities. This is where things turn deeply psychological. A sigma male isn't just a man, he's a mirror. His presence reflects the parts of people they're not prepared to confront. Calm, self-reliant, emotionally steady, and completely detached from public approval, he exists outside the emotional games most individuals rely on. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't contort himself to fit in. He doesn't perform for anyone. And for many, especially those who depend on attention to feel valuable, that is profoundly unsettling. Consider someone who thrives on constant affirmation. When they encounter a sigma, his calm neutrality feels like emotional silence. He's not cold, he's simply uninterested in feeding shallow needs. That silence doesn't reject them, it exposes their dependence on external praise. Or think of someone accustomed to controlling the emotional dynamics in relationships. The Sigma's unshakable autonomy sends one unmistakable message. You cannot manipulate someone who does not need your approval. Even more revealing is what happens to someone who measures their worth by how much male attention they receive. The Sigma does not pursue needlessly. His lack of reaction isn't rejection, it's neutrality. But to a person who survives on being desired, that neutrality feels like rejection. Suddenly, they're face to face with their own insecurities, not because he triggered them, but because his presence illuminated them. That is the Sigma's real power. He doesn't create chaos, he reveals it. Like a flawless mirror, he reflects back neediness, unresolved wounds, or hidden fears. People don't fear him, they fear what they feel when he's near. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't provoke. He simply holds space for truth. And in a world drowning in performance and noise, that kind of raw, reflective stillness is both magnetic and intimidating. He isn't a threat because he acts out. He's a threat because he doesn't have to. His stillness says more than noise ever will, and for those who live behind masks, that quiet truth is the most terrifying thing of all. Number 6, the lifestyle choice, freedom over attachment. Here's the unfiltered truth: Sigma males always choose freedom, not out of arrogance or ego, but out of deep self-understanding. They recognize something most people miss: when you sacrifice your freedom, you start sacrificing your authenticity. A Sigma male can love passionately, even with unwavering devotion, but never at the cost of his purpose, growth, or identity. His mission, whether it's building something meaningful, mastering a craft, or exploring his full potential, will forever come first. He doesn't seek relationships to fill a void. He seeks alignment, not dependency. And the moment a connection begins to disrupt his path or disturb his inner peace, he walks away. Not because he's cold, but because he knows who he is. Sigma males feel deeply. They are introspective, emotionally intelligent, and capable of profound connection. But they refuse to remain in environments filled with drama, manipulation, or toxicity. While many stay in relationships out of fear, guilt, routine, or emotional obligation, the Sigma moves according to his inner compass. He knows that love rooted in control, insecurity, or emotional pressure isn't real love. So when faced with ultimatums, power plays, or emotional traps, he doesn't argue. He exits. This is unsettling for many. You can't guilt trip a Sigma. You can't hold him with manipulation, silent treatment, or prove you love me theatrics. He's not playing a game. He's living with intention. And when his peace is threatened, he chooses solitude over submission every time. He doesn't withdraw to punish anyone, he withdraws to protect himself. Because to a Sigma, peace is priceless. And no connection is worth losing yourself over. This is why Sigma males are both feared and admired. They aren't rebels for attention, they are rebels with a vision. Their mission always comes first. It's not that they reject love. It's that they respect love too much to contaminate it with dependency, control, or emotional chaos. In a world obsessed with attachment, the Sigma male reminds us of a powerful truth. Sometimes real love means walking away, not to abandon someone, but to preserve who you are. Number 7, the unwritten rule: she knows she can't own him. There's a hidden truth about Sigma males. No one can own them. You can't control a Sigma. You can't frame him, cage him, or mold him. You either walk beside him as an equal, or you watch him leave without explanation or regret. This untamable nature is exactly what makes him magnetic. Women may be captivated by his calm presence and quiet mystery, but deep down they know they will never fully possess him. Not because he's emotionally distant, but because his identity isn't built on validation or dependency. When he gives love, it's intentional. It's not a performance or an exchange. His affection is rooted in truth, presence, and depth. You can't buy it with beauty or bend it with manipulation. He sees through every tactic. With the Sigma, you rise, or he steps back. Not to punish, but because he refuses to abandon his principles. So what's the real message here? Sigma men are respected not for chasing attention, but for walking in silence with unbreakable certainty. They influence not through force, but through presence. Even psychology studies affirm that calm, self-contained individuals are perceived as more powerful and attractive. A Sigma's presence doesn't ask for attention. It commands it. Number 8, his absence says everything. When a Sigma male walks away, it isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. He doesn't make speeches or stage emotional scenes. He simply withdraws, quietly, cleanly, and without turbulence. But that silence? It hits harder than any goodbye. His absence isn't hollow. It's dense. It hangs in the air like a truth no one wanted to face. Suddenly, the people who once took his calm presence for granted find themselves staring into the emptiness he leaves behind. A Sigma doesn't punish people for failing to meet his depth. He won't raise his voice, beg, or chase. He just exits with dignity, and in doing so, forces others to confront what they lost. Not out of spite, but because his absence exposes how rare, grounded, and emotionally sovereign he truly was. Most men try to leave a mark by being louder. The Sigma leaves his mark by disappearing. Women especially never forget him. He didn't overwhelm them with attention or cling to them with insecurity. His presence felt genuine, peaceful, and deeply real. And once you've tasted that kind of authenticity, everything else feels fake. When he's gone, people don't just miss him, they miss the peace he carried. The way he listened without judgment. The way he stayed calm in emotional storms. The way he made them feel both safe and challenged, like standing before a man who didn't need them, but still chose them. And that truth haunts them. Because in a world full of noise, over-explaining, and desperate performance, the Sigma becomes unforgettable not by staying, but by leaving. His silence becomes a lesson. His exit becomes a statement. And the question left behind is always the same. Why did I let this man walk away? By the time they realize the answer, he's already moved forward, building something better without ever looking back. Final words. So here's the truth, Sigma males aren't loud, flashy, or desperate for approval. Their power lies in authenticity, calm confidence, and unwavering independence. They challenge, inspire, and transform those around them simply by being themselves. If you've read this and felt it resonate, remember this, it's not about trying to impress others or fit into someone else's expectations. It's about mastering yourself, walking your own path, and staying true to your values. Embrace your independence, your calm, your presence. That's where real strength, respect, and attraction come from. Stay authentic, stay grounded, and above all, stay Sigma.